Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to be here with you all this afternoon. My name is Cindy Elaine Butler, and my pronouns are they/them. I am part of the Youth Ambassador Committee here at the Downey Wenjack Fund. I am biracial. My mom's side of the family is from Guyana, and my father's side is from England. However, I recognize my privilege to be able to be on this land and my privilege to learn and help educate others about Indigenous culture that came before us and that is still ever present today, and to help foster recognition between all of us in hopes to get to know better and to also be better. I'm pleased to acknowledge that I'm grateful to be based in the Greater Toronto Area, which is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and their lands, which are now home to many diverse First Nations people, Inuit, and Métis people. I also acknowledge that people on this call today may be in a different territory, and I highly encourage everyone to learn more about the lands they live on. I, in turn, extend our respect to all First Nation peoples, Inuit, Métis peoples, for the valuable past and present contributions to this land we know as Turtle Island, and also recognize and respect the cultural diversity that Indigenous peoples bring to all our cities across Canada. Our North American history speaks to the misappropriation of Indigenous lands and peoples. I understand that I'm here to promote a commitment to advocacy, equity, and inclusion. I stand dedicated to this task and encourage you and those around me in my life to do the same. Thank you, Miigwech. I now pass it on to Joel.
Thank you, Sydney, for offering today's land acknowledgement. It's great to be here live on Facebook and YouTube for this DWF Live with Fawn Wood. Tanse Joel Cardinal Netsiga-san, Egwaninihu Wihuwen Kihu Kupuhu, Onachisquapune Kochenia. My name is Joel Cardinal. I was raised in my father's community of Sadley Cree Nation, the same community Fawn is from. My mother is from the neighboring Kakike Cree Nations, and both my parents or communities are located in Treaty 6 territory. I have been with the Downey Wenjack Fund for nearly a year now in the role of manager of reconciliation actions. We are so excited today for today's interview with Fawn Wood. Today is the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and Two-Spirit Peoples, also known as Red Dress Day. This is a heavy day for many who are missing family or friends, and we ask that you be kind with yourself. We will be dealing with difficult subject matter that can be incredibly upsetting for some. We will be posting information on where you can get support if needed. Please talk to someone you trust or seek assistance if needed at the National 24/7 Crisis Line listed on the screen below. Today, we honor and bring awareness to the thousands of missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people who are missing, who have been murdered, and who may be subject to violence. Red Dress Day was inspired by Métis artist Jamie Black's Red Dress project, where she hung red dresses in birch forests to represent missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Red dresses are now symbolic of missing and murdered Indigenous women because of Jamie's exhibit. Inspired by Channy's story and Gord's call to build a better Canada, the Gord Downey and Channy Wenjack Fund aims to bring cultural understanding and create a path toward reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. Our goal is to improve the lives of Indigenous people by bringing awareness, education, and connections between all people in Canada. We call on people in Canada to answer Gord Downey's call to do something by creating a reconciliation action and furthering the conversation about the history of residential schools. It's great to see everyone here with us today. Please continue to use the chat and share any thoughts and questions that have come up during today's DWF Live with Fawn. We have several legacy school classrooms joining us today. I'm going to give a shout out just to a couple of them. We have Ridgeway Elementary and Sarah Mazie's class from North Vancouver. I'm saying that first because I used to live in Deep Cove in North Vancouver and I miss it so much. We also have people from the Prairies, Portage Collegiate and Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. We have Bayview Glen School in Toronto, Ontario, Keswick High School from Keswick, Ontario, GS Lakey Middle School in Lethbridge, and Copperfield School in Calgary, just to name a few. Later in the broadcast, we're going to switch over to the question and answer period, where we will take all of your questions, both from our camera classrooms and from the live chat. Classrooms joining the stream, please have your questions ready and make sure your camera and microphones are working. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Fawn Wood. Fawn Wood's deep connection to her family, Cree culture, and community is rooted within traditional music. She is the recipient of the first Juno Award for Traditional Indigenous Artist or Group of the Year in 2022. Fawn grew up immersed in the cultural and musical traditions of her parents. Her father, Earl Wood, is from Saddle Cree Nation and performed with Northern Cree. Her mother, Cindy Jim Wood, taught her the traditions and Salish chants of the Wanak and Statlemek peoples. Fawn released her debut solo album in 2012 titled Esquewak, Songs of Indigenous Womanhood. Fawn was named Best Female Artist at the Native American Music Awards the following year. Her music also earned her Best Hand Drum Recording at the 2013 Aboriginal Peoples Music Choice Awards. Music has become a powerful tool for her to share in the revitalization of the Cree language, inspiring young Indigenous people to develop their cultural practices and keep languages alive. With over 1 million engagements on TikTok, Fawn has become a social media influencer with a cause. Her Juno win has supported her passion to promote traditional music and Indigenous language. I'm now going to pass it on for Fawn for the next 15 to 20 minutes to share more about herself, her background, the importance of her Cree culture and language, and also to share some of her music, which I know most of us are excited to hear. After that, we'll be moving into question and answers, so please have those questions for Fawn ready. I will pass it over to you, Fawn.
Danse kita tamskat na wow, Fawn Wood siga so yan oni chicks kwaponik utse. Nimewe tene gwa nemotsikeitan egitu teyan uta. Kita tamskat na wow, onaska hamagewak egwa giskano hamagewak. First of all, I'd just like to introduce myself and thank you, Joel, and everybody at the Downey Wenjack Fund for having me today. And thank you to all of the students and teachers who invited me into your classrooms and your schools on such an important day. My name is Fawn Wood, and I come to you from the Saddle Cree Nation here in Treaty 6 territory of Alberta, Canada. I currently live in St. Paul, Alberta. And a little bit about myself. I am a singer, songwriter, recording artist, and I'm also a radio host that helps promote language. A big part of what I do is I really enjoy being able to express myself through music and through traditional music specifically. I was brought up in a very cultural and traditional household, despite both of my parents also being residential school survivors. And I'm very lucky to have had parents who encouraged us to celebrate who we are and express our identity. Actually, the first song I want to share with you is actually a powwow song. And for those of you all throughout Turtle Island, it doesn't matter where you are, we have powwow celebrations throughout the summertime. And actually our season's just getting started. And a little bit about powwow is that it's open up to everybody, and it's a celebration where we can enjoy each other's company and enjoy celebrating Indigenous culture. And it's open to everybody. So if you have a chance, I encourage you to go. The very first song I'm going to sing was actually composed by my father, Mr. Earl Wood. And it talks about the powwow dance and how when the dancers come dancing in grand entry, it's talking about giving the creator thanks. I'm also a mother, so if you see me doing stuff on the side, it's because my little ones are here with me as well. Close the door, baby. And this song is called Wow. And it's a song when I first started having that opportunity to travel to different communities throughout the US and Canada. I traveled along with my sister, and at that time we didn't have our own songs, and we were still learning about composing and speaking the language. So my dad gave us a lot of these songs. And this is one of my favorite songs to share because it's something that both me and my little sister Tia whenever we get the chance to speak and share music publicly, this is a song that we always like to start off with. So it's kind of like a good opening song, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Veo cual que no tiene nas que se manito mina veo cual what se mauen hepepi do veo cual que no tiene nas veo cual que no tiene nas que se manito mina veo cual what se mauen hepepito veo cual que no tiene nas veo cual que no tiene nas que se manito mina veo cual what se mauen hepepito veo cual que no tiene nas veo cual que no tiene nas que se manito mina veo cual what se mauen hepepito veo cual que no tiene nas a little bit about that first song. That's actually a family song that we share amongst my family whenever my family was asked to go be a part of different celebrations or go sing even singing amongst ourselves. That is a song that we like to open up with. And I wanted to share that in hopes that, we start off our session and with good energy and good intentions. And I started singing publicly maybe almost about 17 years ago. And when I first started singing, you didn't see too much representation of our music on any main stage. And within that 15 years, you sure seen a huge shift in that and Indigenous representation on all stages. Now you see a lot of our music being recognized at places like the Grammys or the Junos. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. I think it's important, no matter what your background is, that you find what it is that you're passionate about, find what it is that makes you feel good and makes you feel good when you create it. A teaching that we have in our Indigenous communities is that no matter what you choose to do, whether you're an artist, whether you're a teacher, whether you want to work with your people or you want to create, you always create from a good place in your heart and with good intentions, because that's what people are going to feel. A little bit, the next song I want to share with you guys is actually a really special song, and I found it pretty appropriate to share this song today. Today holds a big significance for not just our people as Indigenous people, but and people in general, Canadians and anybody who walks this life on Earth. And it represents, bringing awareness to a tragedy that touches a lot of our communities. And I think the reality of it is that a lot of people don't realize that every single Indigenous person, they've been touched by this tragedy in one way or another, whether it was somebody you knew immediately, whether it's a friend or family. Each and every single one of our communities has experienced the sting of this tragedy. And I want to dedicate this song to anybody who may need a little bit of uplifting on a day like today. Although today, we've come to a place where we're able to do something and take action throughout our country and throughout the globe. You know, even something as simple as wearing red today, or you know, sparking up conversation about it. All of that helps. This song is called "Remember Me," and I think this is the song that I think people most recognize me for. It was actually composed by my uncle Randy Wood, who's been a pioneer in sharing specifically Cree music throughout the world, and he's kind of been a pioneer on opening the doors for the rest of us. And it was always a goal of mine to be able to create something with him, because he played a huge role in why I sing. And this song is actually really special. It's off of my album I entitled Gigawino. And Gigawino in my language means our mother. I wanted to honor Mother Earth and all of the mothers and all of the female beings that walk this earth. It was made to remember our loved ones that may not be here anymore, that moved on to the spirit world, and to honor them like that, and to always remember that they're always with us, and we will never forget them. Hey, oh, hey, remember me when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hi, oh, hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, and hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. Hey, and hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, way, hey, oh, hi, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Remember me when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey. Hey, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, way, hey, oh, hi, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Remember me when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh. And that was Remember Me. a little bit about my journey in music and why I felt like it was really important for me to represent our people in the best way that I can. As I think a huge part in movements like Red Shirt Day or red, the movement behind the whole meaning about red dresses is to help our people outside of our Indigenous communities better understand um, the issues that Indigenous people face. And I think beautiful start is being able to share platforms like this and music like this and messages like this. And I really found it was really important for me to um, to really learn my language. And I found it really alarming that a lot of people my age or younger, as a result of residential school and things like genocide, people my age and younger weren't speaking the language. We didn't understand it. We didn't speak it. And I'm also a mother. I have 3 beautiful children, and I thought, one of the most cherished things that we have, as any people have, is their connection to their culture. And to us, our culture is really deeply rooted in the land, really deeply rooted in language and through our art and through our teachings and our our cultural practices. And it's all interconnected. We believe that. And I really wanted to make sure that I was able to hand those kind of teachings down to my kids. I grew up in a house where we only had one fluent speaker, and that was my father. And the funny thing about my journey with reclaiming my culture and making sure that I had the tools to equip myself to teach my kids the culture was the very same school that my dad went to residential school, which was Blue Quills Residential School. It later got turned into a university that my people and the surrounding communities reclaimed and turned into one of the very first Indigenous run universities. And that's where I attained my degree, the Bachelor of Arts in Cree language there. And now, I run a radio show called the Cree Chatter Hour. I'm really excited. I have one more song to share with you guys. Where, baby? Oh, okay, baby. And this song is actually a grandmother's song. This is another song that has been a part of my family. Close the door, baby. Close the door. For a while. We talk about the old lady spirit, and it's called Nutugua Dayugan. Gesewatisin, you're so kind, and it asks her to bless us and to watch over us. Oh, okay. Nutugua Dayugan, Gesewatisin. Nutugua Dayugan, Dema Keno Wenan, Sawe Mina Nahuel. Nutugua Dayugan, Gesewatisin. Nutugua Dayugan, Dema Keno Wenan, Sawe Mina Nahuel. Nutugua Dayugan, Gesewatisin. Nutugua Dayugan, Dema Keno Wenan, Sawe Mina Nahuel. With that, I want to say thank you guys for allowing me to share the space with you, allowing me to share a little bit of our culture and music with you guys. And I look forward to taking some questions.
Mom, go, baby, go.
Great. Thank you, Fawn, for sharing a bit about yourselves and sharing your music. I just noticed through reading the comments and talking to a lot of people that her song, Remember Me, really hits a chord with a lot of people who are struggling with grief and who have lost someone close to them. I know I have listened to that song before and it's made me feel a lot better. So just raise my hands to Fawn. for her beautiful music that she's created. We are going to move into question and answers, and we're going to start off with one of our in-camera schools. So I'm going to call PCI students to the stream to ask a question. All right, PCI students, do we have a question from the teacher or one of the students in the classroom for Fawn?
Hi. We're kind of between class changes, so I started it during lunch period, and then I have a few students. They just caught the end of your third song there, so it's playing in my classroom, and people are walking by, so I hope they stop in, and I hope I get more students than I've had so far. But good.
What we'll do is PCI students will come back to you when the next set of students come in. We're going to move over to another classroom right now. We're going to go to Miss Randall's class. Now, does anyone from Miss Randall's class have a question for Fawn or a comment for Fawn? Not sure if we're getting like in between all of the classes right now, or
okay, sorry, we're all here. Just wanted to say Nisi Niteki, thank you so much, Fawn, for sharing your songs and your knowledge with us. I'm just gonna turn you around because I've got the rest of the students in the back here, and they all just want to say hi and thank you. I'm coming. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Randall's class. We're going to move over to, we're going to do the 7 Immersion West Ferris class. Do we have a question or a comment for Fawn from this class?
Well, first we want to say miigwech for the wonderful music. We missed the first 10 minutes, unfortunately, but we have a student that wants to know how long music has been in your family, how long you have Fawn, you and your family have been actively singing.
Oh, awesome. That's a really good question. Music has been in my family for generations, and despite them not being able to sing for a while, that's something that they carried with them and were able to pass on. I'm really grateful that my parents had that, exposed us to music, and they encouraged us to sing. All of my siblings sing, and my parents are still singing. Even my grandmother is 76 years old, and she still has her own singing group, and she still goes to powwows and sings. So it's always been a part of my life, and it holds a really special place.
I have a follow-up question, if that's all right. So Fawn, how did you resist, or your family resist, colonialism?
You know, I think my parents coming out of residential school, because of their experience there, and once they had, I'm the oldest of them, they really wanted to make sure that culture wasn't something that they lost. It's something that they carried them through that time. And my parents really wanted to make sure that they instilled that pride and that knowledge in us, so we could, you know, walk through this life and with those tools that our ancestors fought so hard to make sure that they had to pass down through generations. And I think it was really grounding ourselves back in our grassroots, in our communities, you know, being able to just immerse ourselves through our celebrations and our gatherings and our ceremonies played a huge part in that.
Great, thank you, and thanks to your questions from 7 Immersion West Ferris. We're going to move into one of our chat questions for Fawn. We have a question, and it is, what is a moment in your career that really stands out so far?
I have 2 really special moments. And I think the very first one was, I used to be a really shy person. I was really scared to share my voice. I could barely speak in public. And the first time that I went down to the Gathering of Nations powwow was the very first time that they opened their hand drum contest to both male and female contestants. And I became, I went down there. My mom, she drove me down there. I think it took us 30 hours. And I entered into this contest, and it was, you had to sing by yourself. And I became the very first female to win that contest. And that was kind of a turning point for me. And that's kind of when I knew that I wanted to encourage others to find their voice. And a second part was a second moment that meant a lot in my career was when I went down to Rapid City, South Dakota. And I remember I got asked to go sing down there and share. And it was actually Remember Me, the song I shared. I started sharing that song. And at the same time, all of the young ladies in the audience started singing along with me. And that was one of the most moving moments that I've ever experienced. And I base a lot of what I do on encouraging others to find their voice and find what they're passionate about.
Great, thank you, Fawn, for sharing. I've heard some of those experiences in the past, and that always gives me goosebumps just knowing what a trailblazer you have been for our community. I'm going to move over to a question that's also been asked. What can students and teachers do to bring more awareness and take action to missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit peoples?
I really think having those conversations and kind of educating behind the meanings, even things like this, hosting events like this where people can connect and kind of learn a little bit more, but keeping that conversation going, keeping that education going is really important. And also even reaching out, if you're from a non-Indigenous community, reaching out to even your local Indigenous community to talk about the events and things that have happened there and what you can do to help.
Great, thank you. And as we can see, Fawn is on double duty right now, taking care of her little ones. So always happy to see that. And whenever we work with our artists, we always create space for their families as well. There's a question that I want to ask Fawn, both of us being from the same community of Saddle Lake Cree Nation. It's a rather large community with over 10,000 band members. We both know of women from our community who have gone missing. And I just want to ask you the question, how have you been personally impacted by missing and murdered Indigenous women?
You know, I guess that is always a really tough, subject to talk about. I've, been asked in our own communities, people that, whether I'm closely related to or distantly related to come and sing at services of these beautiful beings that have been called home too early. Also myself, I've had first cousins that have been a product of this tragedy. And I think that's why it's so important. And this is why our Indigenous people all over really push to invite others to learn about these things and to educate themselves about these things, because it's something that's not just isolated to Canada, but we experience this in Indigenous communities all throughout North America. And in my travels, that's something that I've heard, especially sharing the song Remember Me. A lot of the times people are dedicating that to people in their own communities that have been lost by this tragedy. And I think that one big thing to recognize too is that this isn't just isolated to our Indigenous females as well, but it's something that touches all genders and all ages. And I'm really happy to be a part of things like this, because I do believe that it's going to bring change. It's going to bring good things.
Great. Thank you for that, Fawn. We have a question from our chat. And the question is, are you still doing the Cree Chatter Hour weekly on CFW-EFN?
Oh, yes, actually I am. We had to take a couple of weeks off because we got busy with some prior commitments in New Mexico and other things. But yes, every Wednesday, for those of you who are wanting to learn Cree, we host a show called the Cree Chatter Hour, plays throughout Alberta. And if you live outside of Alberta, you can listen to it online live as well. And you just look up the Cree Chatter Hour, all of our past episodes, and we aim to really encourage people to speak Cree no matter your fluency levels, and we like to make it fun.
Awesome. And I believe you do the Cree Chatter Hour with your husband, Dallas. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. And we've been doing it for about 1.5 years now. So we have quite a few episodes. And, whenever you get free time and you want something to listen to, all of our past episodes are online as well.
So I have a question to follow up to that. Where did that idea come from, and why is it important that you and Dallas do that Chatter Hour?
You know what? Me and Dallas actually both started our language journey at the same time. And we went to Blue Quills, and we realized that Indigenous language, Cree language, was something more than you just speak or sing and communicate in. There was a whole mentality and a whole way of life behind that. And I think a big part of encouraging other people where that comes from was it's really easy for us to feel discouraged when it comes to speaking language. We don't ever want to say anything funny or kind of it's really easily discouraged. So we wanted to make a show and a platform where we equipped people with things to say, and we, it was everyday talk. And it's something we're both really passionate about, and I'm really glad we came upon it.
Great, thank you for that, Fawn. We have a question coming in from one of our classrooms, the 7 Immersion West Ferris. Question from a student: how are you raising your child, your daughter, and I know you have other children, to be aware of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls?
It's conversations that we have. Now we have a 12-year-old, soon to be 13-year-old. We have a 6-year-old, and we have my daughter here, the 3-year-old. And I think because it's such a harsh reality that our Indigenous people face, to have these conversations when they start asking questions and are at that age where they could understand, we want to let them know that that this is something that happens, and unfortunately it's something that we also have to kind of equip them to be careful, and that I think that's a big part in why we need to bring awareness and do things like this for everybody to know, because we shouldn't be living in a world where we have to warn our children about the certain dangers and things that could happen just because of their background and where they come from. And I think that's what every child deserves, to live in a safe environment.
Great. Thank you, Fawn. I believe we have one more question coming in from our chat. Let me just take a look here. As an artist, do you see change in the Native arts community?
Oh, definitely. I think we've always had great wealth in Indigenous music. It doesn't matter what genre, but most recently, because of the recognition that Indigenous music is finally getting, our different voices are being heard for different issues. And I don't think a lot of people know, but a lot of Indigenous musicians, it doesn't matter what kind of music that they express themselves in, everybody always has that touch of their traditional voice in there, of their traditional music, and everybody always uses their platform and their art to express the different issues that we face, and also celebrate the different beauty of our different communities that we come from. I see a huge change in that, even just within the past 10 years. You have all kinds of different music that's being recognized, and they're crossing these bridges between our communities and the non-Indigenous communities. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to witness and be a part of.
Great. Thank you, Fawn. I think that wraps up our Q&A section. I'm going to end the session by showing one of Fawn's actual apparel items. I actually just picked it up yesterday, and I would 100% be wearing it if it was red today, and if it also wasn't 30 degrees in Alberta. But take a look, check out Fawn's website. She has some really interesting apparel. take a look. I get 20% of the proceeds. No, I'm just kidding. I do not. But we're going to wrap up today's session. I'm going to start by thanking Fawn Wood for taking the time out of her busy schedule. I'm friends with her on Facebook. She is all over North America constantly. She just drove 40 hours from Albuquerque earlier this week to get back to St. Paul. So she is a busy lady. So thank you for taking the time for us today. I also want to thank our youth ambassador, Sydney Butler, for taking the time to do our land acknowledgement today. Thank all of the classrooms that engaged and are watching live for Fawn Wood's DWF Live. And I also want to thank all of the DWF staff who have been involved with making this event happen, particularly our events lead, Jamie. She is behind the screen. We can see her, but nobody else can. She's the main person who makes a lot of these happen, so I do want to acknowledge her as well. If you are interested in watching any of our previous DWF live sessions, you can do so by visiting our Facebook page and our YouTube channel under Lives. We also have a short survey that is in the chat now. Please let us know what your thoughts are of today's program and what you'd like to see for future DWF live events. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please feel free to share it with your family and friends or host a watch party with them. Thank you again to all of our speakers, to our classrooms, and thanks for your comments. This marks the end of this DWF live session with Fawn Wood. Thank you.